Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
I knew things had changed when Ronnie Starr came back to town. At one time, he was the fiancé of my wife, Cindy. Ronnie broke up with Cindy a year before I met her. She made no secret of the fact that Ronnie broke her heart when he decided to break up with her and marry a rich woman 10 years older. I started dating Cindy. She didn't have the gorgeous looks of a model or a movie star, but she was very pretty. She had soft brown hair and brown eyes, a beautiful face, but it was her loving heart that drew me to her. We got married about a year later, and our little girl, Amanda, was born 9 months later. Life was good for 18 of our 19 years together. We had our differences, but nothing serious until recently. Usually, our disagreements arose when we divided responsibilities. Cindy was the only child in the family and was spoiled by her parents. However, over the years, she learned to curb her stubbornness. When our daughter was born, Amanda became my little princess. We were especially close and our family was very friendly. However, over the past year, Cindy and I seemed to be growing apart. I began to realize that we were doing less and less together. However, our lovemaking was very good and we did it at least twice a week and more often. Cindy seemed happiest when we were hugging. I knew that she loved me deeply. I still loved Cindy, but in a different way. It was no longer like the hot, passionate love we experienced when we first got married. We were like two old shoes that had seen better days but fit together well. Yet, I loved my wife very much and especially loved the life we had built. When Amanda graduated from high school, the changes in Cindy seemed to accelerate. She seemed on the verge of a breakdown, and the closer it got to Amanda leaving for college, the more uneasy Cindy became. I was now chief of detectives in the sheriff's department with 32 detectives under me. Since this county was not a high-crime county, the work was not too stressful. Cindy was still working as a dental hygienist. About a month after Amanda left for college, Ronnie showed up at a barbecue thrown by a couple, John and Smithy, who were more of Cindy's friends than mine. However, John and I got along great because he owned a security company and we always had something to talk about. I had no idea Ronnie would be there, but Cindy certainly did. She immediately pulled away from me, which was not unusual, and began to circle. But an hour later, I went looking for her and found her and Ronnie sitting on the porch. As I approached, Cindy's neck turned slightly red, which meant she was planning something I wouldn't like. She quickly introduced me to Ronnie and my stomach dropped. As a cop, I developed a gut instinct that told me this was real trouble. Cindy tried to brush it off as if she was surprised to see him and they were just reminiscing about old times. But her neck turned red during the explanation. I decided I wasn't going to make a big deal about this. As a police officer, many times I encounter extremely unpleasant situations. However, it is necessary to handle them calmly and professionally. Sometimes this can be very difficult. The next working day after the barbecue, I checked on Ronnie through my channels. I found out that his wife died of cancer a year ago. In all his years, Ronnie never even had a speeding ticket, let alone any other problems with the police. As the months passed, we saw Ronnie more and more often. I knew this was no accident, so I began to prepare for the worst. I thought that any day now Cindy would want to talk to me about something. But no matter how prepared I was, Cindy blew me out of the water when she decided to do it. We had just finished a rare morning of lovemaking, and I thought that maybe all my fears were in vain. It was clear to me that Cindy still loved me just as much as before. "Ted, I want to talk to you about something," she said nervously, "and I don't want you to get angry. I want you to let me finish before you say anything." My stomach turned over. "You know, Ronnie was my first love," she explained. "We were engaged, then he fell in love with Catherine and we broke up. After his wife's death, he was devastated. He's so lonely. He tells me he still loves me and I have to admit that I still love him. But at the same time, I love you." I didn't say a word and tried my best to control my breathing and remain calm. This gave Cindy courage because she smiled and continued, "I still want to be your wife, but I also want to be with Ronnie. Ronnie and I talked it over and decided it was only fair that I stay with you for a week and he stays with you for a week." I slipped out of bed, got dressed, and left without saying a word. I headed to my office and closed the door. The secretary looked at my unshaven face but did not ask. I told her I didn't want to be bothered unless it was something serious. I was left alone. I sat in the unlit office for several hours replaying the proposal my wife made to me over and over again in my head. It was the most selfish thing she could do. It was clear to me that Cindy wanted to sit on 2 chairs. This shouldn't happen. She will have to choose. About 5 o'clock, I returned home. I was very annoyed when I saw Ronnie's car in the driveway. I tried to pull myself together and use all my years of police training to stay calm. However, all this training did not prepare me for anything like this. I found them in the living room sitting nervously. Cindy quickly stood up and came over to kiss me. I pushed her away and saw that she was in pain, but I didn't care. "We need to talk about this," Cindy said nervously. "We have nothing to talk about," I answered briefly. "You either want to be with the idiot or with me. You can't have him and me." "I don't think you fully thought this sentence through," Ronnie said, looking at me nervously. "I'm not going to take your wife away from you. I'll just give her the extra love she needs. Yes, we will share her, but she will never miss any of her marital obligations." Now the inner rage was almost on the verge of boiling. This smug bastard just told me that I should let Cindy sleep with him because she needs some extra love. They both disgusted me, and at that moment I realized that my marriage was over. "Except," I said, glaring at Ronnie, "the marital duty of giving up all the others." "No, I'm not going to agree, Ted," Cindy said with an expression that told me she was now upset with me. "It will happen. The question is whether you will be a part of it or not." "No," I said, "leave both of you." Cindy burst into tears. "Ted, please, give it to me. All these years I have been a faithful wife. Ronnie was my first love, but I don't want to lose you. I love you so much, but so does Ronnie." I snorted and looked at Ronnie. "Tell me, Ronnie, if your late wife came to you with a similar offer, would you accept it?" He smiled at me and nodded. "If it could make my wife happy, I would gladly agree," he said with more force than I intended, but I wanted to get my point across. So I turned to Cindy. "What about you, Cindy? If I came home with my ex-girlfriend and told you that I wanted you to share me with her, how would you feel about it?" Cindy hesitated for a few seconds before answering. "I would probably be upset like you are now, but in the end, I would agree because I really love you and want you to be happy." Again, I said, shaking my head. "In the morning, I will contact a lawyer to negotiate a divorce. I think separating assets should be pretty simple. The house only has a small mortgage. Once this is paid for, we will split the proceeds. Our investments, savings, and current accounts will be separated. Amanda's college fund will remain intact. There will be no alimony since you will live with the sitting there now. Both of you, please leave." Cindy cried her eyes out when Ronnie took her hand approaching the door. Cindy turned to me and said, "If you change your mind, I love you very much." As soon as they left, the silence of the house fell over me. I was empty inside, but my years of service in the police taught me self-control. I put the wound in the box and closed the lid. Then I went to my office and started making a list of what I needed to do. I knew exactly which lawyer I would take. Her name was Sally Leone, and she had a reputation as a real shark in divorce proceedings. She usually represented the wives, and the poor husbands never knew what hit them. Over the years, our paths have crossed. I helped her many times when needed. I looked through the list and realized there was one thing I hadn't done yet. I have to call Amanda and let her know what's going on. It broke my heart to have to tell my little girl what her mother was doing. It took Amanda a full 5 minutes to calm down so that I could truly understand her. What happened next was unexpected. "How could she do this to you, Dad?" She said venomously. "All these years, you have been so kind to her, to us, and now she's stabbing you in the back. If she does this, I don't want anything to do with her." "Amanda," I said calmly, "you are very upset now, and I understand your feelings. But Cindy is your mother, and she loves you unconditionally. Don't ruin your relationship with your mother over this. We all lose if you do this. Can you wait at least a few days before talking? What if she calls me?" Amanda reluctantly agreed to my request. Later that evening, Cindy called me very concerned. She tried to call Amanda but couldn't. I explained that I had spoken to her and our daughter was visibly upset. I explained to Cindy that Amanda wanted to calm down before talking to either of us about the matter. "I bet you turned her against me," Cindy accused me. "I bet you painted the most disgusting picture you could. Cindy, how can I draw her worse than you already did?" I said calmly, knowing that this would anger her. Her mother wants her father to allow her to sleep with another man. Before Cindy could say anything, I decided to tackle one of the items on my list. "Oh, since you're on my line, you should hire a lawyer, please." "Ted, don't do this," she cried again. "It kills me that you want me out of your life. I love you so much. Could you give me some space?" "There's nothing to discuss, Cindy," I said and hung up. I took the next week off to focus on getting all the ducks in a row, but the nights were terrible. Lying in bed alone was unbearably lonely. I would wake up in the morning and reach for Cindy only to remember why she wasn't there. The first thing I did was call Sally, but was unpleasantly surprised when she said Ronnie had already called. This bastard was secretive. He must have already figured out who the best divorce lawyer is and is now ahead of me. Well, if I can't hire you, I said, somewhat offended, can you recommend someone I should hire? I said, Ronnie contacted me, Sally snorted. I didn't say that he hired me. In fact, I told him that you already hired me. Wow, I said with great relief. I really appreciate you doing this, Sally. Most men in this town think I'm a piece of crap, she said bitterly. You are one of the few who have always treated me with respect. You are one of the few who went out of their way to help me. I've always appreciated that. I will never stand against you again. I'm very grateful. You still have to pay my fee, she said with a laugh. It's not a problem, Sally, and thanks again. Even after several days, the phone conversation between Cindy and Amanda did not go well. According to both, it turned into a shouting match with ugly names being thrown back and forth. Cindy called me later, almost hysterical that she had lost her daughter forever. I told her I would talk to Amanda and try to work things out, but it turned out to be much more difficult than I could have imagined. Amanda was angry when I spoke to her a week later. According to my daughter, she told her mother that she wanted nothing to do with her. Cindy would not be invited to the graduation or the wedding, and if she has grandchildren, she will never meet them. Now I understood why Cindy was hysterical. The calls from Cindy continued until the day of the divorce. She continued to beg me to reconsider and accept their plan. Of course, I continued to refuse. After the divorce, the calls stopped and I tried to move on. Thank God I had a job as chief of detectives. My schedule was quite flexible. Over the next 6 months, I became much more practical. I could often point some of my new detectives in the right direction, wasting no time going down obvious dead ends. I also started looking through our cold cases. As a result of my efforts, we were able to close a long-forgotten murder case. It turned out that the victim's ex-boyfriend did it. They always had the evidence, but they just didn't see it. For this, I received gratitude and an increase in salary. Cindy and Ronnie got married about a month after their divorce. They wanted to buy my half of the house, but the thought of Ronnie living in my house turned me inside out. Ronnie threatened to go to court to force me to sell it. I told him to go and sue. I was friendly with all the appraisers in town, and when I explained my dilemma, they all agreed to help. The estimates were much higher than the house was worth, yet Ronnie didn't care. He paid a ridiculously high price for my house. It drove me crazy, but I couldn't do anything about it. In the end, however, I liked the result. I made a lot more money from the sale than I could have. The divorce went better than I thought. I have Sally to thank for that. Her analysis was so thorough that she found information that helped me. The down payment on the house was inherited from my grandfather, therefore this amount was not considered public property. As a result, I received about 75% of the proceeds from the sale. With this money, I bought myself an apartment for cash not far from work. Life goes on, but I would be lying if I said it didn't hurt. All these years with Cindy, and now she decided that I was not enough. I tried to return to the dating scene, but it was even more depressing. Most of the women I dated came with a ton of baggage. Some of them were downright scary, and almost all of them desperately wanted to get married. I, on the other hand, had no interest in marriage. One evening, about 8 months after Ronnie and Cindy's wedding, I was having dinner at a restaurant. I didn't know they were there until Cindy got hooked. I was surprised to see my ex-wife, but decided I wasn't going to be nasty. I looked around and saw Ronnie sitting at a table at the other end, studying the menu. "How are you, Ted?" Cindy asked quietly. "I'm fine," I answered with a sad smile. "How are you doing?" "I still miss you every day," she said, placing her hand on top of mine. "I still love you very much. If you ever find it in your heart to accept Ronnie, I will be glad to be with you again." At first, I was going to pull my hand out from under her and tell her to go for a walk, but then an idea struck me. I'll have to talk to Amanda first, but it might be something I can do to get back at that Ronnie. "I miss you too, Cindy," I admitted honestly. "I hate waking up and you're not there, but now you are a married woman. By the way, I think your husband is looking for you." Cindy looked at Ronnie and he looked at her with a what the hell expression. She simply nodded to her husband and stood up. "Remember, I still love you." That evening I called Amanda and explained what I wanted to do. At first, she was horrified and said that I was inferior to this. Then I explained why I wanted to do it and she started giggling. The giggles turned into general laughter. "This is just wonderful, Dad," Amanda finally said. "Go for it." The next day I called Cindy with my daughter's blessing. I told her I wanted to talk to her and Ronnie. I told her that I was thinking about our conversation yesterday. Cindy was delighted and we agreed to meet at our old house at 7 in the evening. I arrived exactly at 7. Cindy led me into the living room. It was unpleasant to see him sitting on the sofa in my former home, however, I took some satisfaction from the annoyed expression on his face. It was clear to me that Cindy had blamed this meeting on Ronnie at the last minute. He looked at me like a dagger. I pretended not to notice anything. After pouring us a cup of coffee, Cindy settled down on the sofa between Ronnie and me. I got straight to the point. "Cindy, what did you mean when you said that the offer to share was still valid?" A smile appeared on Cindy's face. "Yes, of course, the offer is still valid. I told you that I still love you deeply. I just love Ronnie too." "Well, if you agree," I said, trying to feign nervousness, "I would agree. Now I have no one. At least this way, I'll have you part of the time. I was so lonely without you." Cindy rushed towards me. She kissed me more passionately than we had ever kissed. "Oh, Ted, you made me the happiest woman in the world." "Wait a minute," Ronnie said, standing up. "We haven't discussed this yet." "It's the same thing you suggested," I calmly told Ronnie. "Yes, but still, Cindy and I need to discuss this first." Ronnie was very excited. "We've already discussed this," Cindy said, a little surprised by Ronnie's objection. "When did we discuss this?" Ronnie blushed. "Don't forget, we discussed this before we presented Ted with the plan. You said you're more than willing to share." Ronnie was disheartened by his own words and there was nothing he could do about it. Still, he wasn't about to give up so easily. "I still think we need to discuss this." It was on the tip of my tongue to point out to Ronnie what a hypocrite he was. It was the same deal he offered me, but now the shoe was on the other foot. He was the husband and I was the ex. However, I decided to let this drama play out between Cindy and Ronnie without my involvement. "Okay, I'll leave and wait to hear from you, Cindy," I said, kissing her before leaving. Back in the car, I started laughing until I dropped. I switched roles with this idiot. Now he was squirming like a worm. I wished I was a fly on the wall that night. The next day, Cindy called me and said that Ronnie was very upset. But when she told him she would leave, he agreed. "Cindy will spend 1 week with me and 1 week with Ronnie." Of course, at Ronnie's insistence, none of this could be done until I was tested for sexually transmitted diseases. I agreed on the condition that they both also be tested. Cindy didn't mind, but Ronnie wasn't happy. As it turned out, we were all clean. The next week, I went to pick up Cindy. Cindy looked fine as she walked up to the door. Ronnie, on the other hand, looked like he had murder on his mind. I grabbed Cindy and kissed her deeply, then I grabbed her 2 suitcases and we went out. I decided that I would do everything possible to make this night special. I invited her to dinner and then to the dance. Then we returned to my apartment. By the time we got to the bed, Cindy said, "Oh God, Ted, I missed you so much. I really love you to bits." We had hot sex and more than once during that night, we rose to the heights of pleasure. Then we lay and hugged until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up to Cindy again giving me affection and we made love again, bringing each other pleasure. Cindy leaned over and kissed me on the lips. I know some of you are disgusted with me for kissing her when I knew exactly what she was doing with that mouth when she was with Ronnie. It didn't bother me at all because I had his wife. The week passed quickly and very pleasantly. I had to work, so I told Cindy she could go home for the day if she wanted. Cindy was adamant she was my wife for the week. It made me cringe internally. Well, if that's what she wanted to believe, then that was fine with me. All I was interested in was that I had Ronnie's wife. She cleaned the house, went grocery shopping, washed my clothes, cooked food, and even set dinner times for us. I had a blast. I even got Amanda to talk to her mother without yelling at her, of course. Amanda was aware of my plan, and I'm sure she chuckled at how ignorant her mother was when I drove Cindy home. Ronnie looked both happy and angry. Whatever anger was simmering within him, he kept it in check. He kissed Cindy passionately right in front of me. I just kissed Cindy on the cheek, said, "I love you," and left. Over the next 3 months, our new agreement was implemented. I have to say that this arrangement was great for me. Sex with Cindy after our divorce was a hit. Moreover, this was her proposal. I was now having sex 6 or 7 times a week. Another benefit of this new arrangement was that I convinced Amanda to come home and spend some time with us. I'm not sure if my daughter did this because she missed her mother or if she was making fun of her. One day, maybe 2 months after this new arrangement began, I was checking on my 3 detective teams working different crime scenes. Then a call came over the radio about a disturbance at Mick's Tavern. Since I was only a block away, I decided to check it out myself. When I got there, I discovered that there had been an altercation with a drunk customer. I was surprised to learn that it was Ronnie who was drunk. I decided to deal with this problem. After dismissing the 2 officers, I turned to Ronnie. "Come on, Ronnie," I said, taking his hand. "I'll take you home." "I don't need your help." "Ronnie, your choice is either I take you home or to jail. What's better for you?" He decided to accept the trip home. We didn't say a word the whole way to my old house. When he got out of my car, all he said was "you." By the 4th month, Ronnie was less and less happy about our agreement. He and Cindy argued more and more about it. He wanted it all to stop, but Cindy couldn't understand why I did not interfere in their discussions. I just kept telling Cindy she was beautiful and kept getting all the sex I wanted. For a week, this arrangement allowed me to have Cindy much more than when we were married. Finally, when I came to pick Cindy up for a week, about 5 months into our agreement, things started to boil over. Ronnie and Cindy were screaming at each other in the yard. I decided to try to calm them down. "I think you guys should calm down," I said with a grin, "or someone will call the police." "You," Ronnie said angrily before turning back to Cindy. "If you go with him, then our relationship will be over." "We agreed, Ronnie," she said with an unpleasant note in her voice. Since I met Ronnie, I've never seen my ex-wife speak to her new husband in anything other than loving terms. "The agreement is," Ronnie yelled, "and I tell you again that if you go with him, everything will be over." "It's not serious," Cindy said in a dismissive tone. "You were the one who came up with the idea of exchange a long time ago." With these words, Ronnie burst into the house and slammed the door. I looked questioningly at Cindy. "He's just having a bad day," Cindy said, taking my hand. "He will survive this and everything will return to normal." Things haven't returned to normal. Apparently, Ronnie has moved out. Cindy tried to talk to him, but he was adamant they were done. Cindy called me around noon on Wednesday and told me what happened. "He left me, Ted," she said, sobbing. "Can I move in with you?" "Yes, I'll be with you on Monday when it's time for my next week," I said cheerfully. "But Ronnie is gone," Cindy said, confused. "I want to come back to you completely. I understand that I made a huge mistake. Everything Ronnie said about sharing was just to keep us apart. I want everything to be like before." "Well, you see, Cindy," I said, pretending to be embarrassed. "You wanted me to share with you. You didn't want me to work full-time, so I'm already used to the fact that you're just a part-time wife. I don't think things have changed since Ronnie left. So, do you still want me to pick you up on Monday?" Cindy began to sob uncontrollably, followed by silence. At some point, it seemed to me that she hung up, but the bitter sobs resumed. Finally, after several attempts, Cindy found her voice and stammered, Yes, please, Ted. I would really like you to pick me up on Monday." Thank you for listening to this story. Now here is another exciting story for you to read. I'm not a ladies' man, and he never was, and I will not, like many boring successful bachelors, had to wait until the big catches were shared. Once these top heels are out of the game, the quiet nerds with a good income start looking good to the rest of the women. My name is Bryce, and I married Naomi 23 years ago. Our oldest, Denise, is in college. Her brother, Daniel, is a sophomore at Cross State University. Mickey is the youngest and is heading off to a private college in the fall. She is apparently much smarter than the other two since she has a full scholarship. My card really appreciates this. Naomi and I met at a business conference. She handed out registration materials. Apparently, I was witty enough for her to seek me out at lunch and sit with me. What sets Naomi apart from most is that she is significantly overweight. She seems unfazed by it and flirts like she's a skinny babe. The way she looks has never mattered to me. We fell in love based on shared beliefs and desires. Naomi works but only gets half of mine. She is a mystery. She's very smart and pretty but refuses to wear makeup or watch her weight. I try not to pry into other people's business, but I saw her health report and it said 240. That's not good for a 5 feet 4 inches. I learned early on never to broach the subject of diet and face paint. We have arguments, but I can't say it's ever affected our sex life for more than a day or two. There is nothing exciting about this sex life. Once or twice a week, we have sex. I never wanted to know if Naomi had sexual fantasies, and she was never interested in mine. I guess I'm old-fashioned in the sense that I think they're risky. My daughter Mickey, a high school senior, was the first to enlighten me. Dad, you're so stupid that I almost wish the milkman was my father. Did Mom have lip gloss on when she left for work this morning? How do I know this? Does she ever wear makeup? As far as I know, no. So, you think she sweats on lip gloss and it magically appears? Most likely no. What do you mean? Do you think she's applying it for you? My stomach cramped. I was waiting for you to do something. Walk around and see if you smell perfume. I walked past, intending to fill my glass, and of course, I smelled the perfume. I returned to Mickey. Probably not for me, huh? Perhaps there is still hope, Dad. This has been going on for several months now. Since when did she start wearing blouses that showed off her cleavage? I think if you check her credit card receipts, you'll find a lot of new clothes. If it were me, I would get my finances in order. I kissed Mickey on the forehead and headed to my office. As predicted, Naomi's boutique purchases have gone from $0 to over $200 over the past 3 months. I called a guy I played golf with on the weekends. His brother is a divorce lawyer. I worked like hell to pay for my children's education. If I can send them to work without paying off student loans, then their chances of achieving their dreams increase significantly. Thus, my personal wealth is not even 6 months of salary saved up. If Denise wants to go to graduate school, even that would be a blow. I felt sad that evening when Mickey pointed out the change in Naomi. You weave what you consider to be the road to a happy life. It seems like this common thread has been pulled a little from the fabric of our marriage. The lawyer convinced me to draw up 3 forms: a separation agreement, a postnuptial agreement, and a petition for divorce. His suggestion was to find the right time and give Naomi a choice. The purpose of the separation agreement was to freeze the assets at that time, not so much to freeze but to determine how much each of our shares was worth. Immediately transferring what was possible to individual accounts was his suggestion. I was thinking about whether I should do this. Maybe it's not as bad as I imagine. I didn't have to think long. Mickey had gone somewhere after dinner. Naomi and I retired to the living room to watch TV. Bryce, since we've saved up a little, I'm thinking about getting some Botox injections and liposuction. I thought about these words. What should I think? Is she doing this for me? Wait a minute. I walked into my office and pulled out 3 forms. I signed and dated all 3. Here, Naomi, this is for you. After several glances, what the hell is this? In my opinion, this is completely obvious. The first agreement is a separation agreement, the second is the postnuptial agreement, and the third is a petition for divorce. I've already split the savings account. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. If you do not sign the separation agreement and postnuptial agreement, I will file a petition for legal separation. And all because I want to spend some money. You're crazy if you think I want a divorce or separation. What's his name? Whom is the guy you're doing all this for? I do this for myself and for you. You've had 23 years to do this for me. 3 months ago, you didn't even do this for yourself. What's his name? This is nonsense. There is no other man. Are you in a romantic relationship with a woman? No, so this is a man. What's his name? There's no other man. Do you remember what you were wearing when we went to lunch last Sunday? Not really. Have you put on lipstick and perfume? No, but every day you come home from work with lip gloss and perfume, although you leave the house without them. Either you tell me his name, or I will cancel the separation agreement and file for divorce tomorrow. The tears could no longer be held back. Bryce, it's not as bad as you think. I'm guessing you value his privacy more than mine. Last chance, Naomi. What's his name? The unhappy look and tears did not sway me. I got up to leave. Jim Stevens, in a very quiet voice. I'll be back tomorrow. Sign contracts of your choice. This is the end, Bryce. No, do not say that. I didn't let it get that far. Please stay. We need to talk about this. I went to my bedroom and packed my suitcase. Naomi sat quietly, covering her face with her hands. I didn't notice how Mickey hugged me and kissed me. I'm proud of you, Dad. If we are not good enough for her, she can live on her own. How could I miss all these signs? Very simple, Dad. In the college preparatory class I attend, we studied confirmational biases. This basically means that you interpret and filter out any information that goes against your pre-existing beliefs. You believed your mom would never cheat on you, so you ignored or misinterpreted the signs because they didn't fit your preconceptions. You are far from the first and not the last. Politicians use this to their advantage. They will talk nonsense until they touch a voter's nerve. His voter ignores everything he disagrees with as long as the politician promises something important to him. This is amazing, Mickey. I'll be back around this time tomorrow, baby. Thanks again. Love you. I love you too, Dad. When I remembered her picnics and holiday parties, I couldn't remember Jim Stevens. I was out of town for the last meeting a couple of months ago. There were too many results in the internet search to be useful. Maybe it's not even his name. Maybe she was just blowing smoke to make me shut up. Luckily, my workday was busy. I didn't even have time to have lunch. When I decided to turn on my phone, I received messages from all 3 kids and a good half dozen from Naomi. Mickey brought Daniel and Denise up to date with Naomi's affairs. All 3 calls from children were a good moral incentive for me. I didn't spend a lot of time arguing with myself about what I wanted. What I really wanted was no longer possible. Apparently, I wasn't enough for Naomi. I was very hesitant to listen to Naomi's messages. Bryce, it's not a problem for me. Please believe me, signing is not a problem. I didn't have sex with him. I love you. Call me, please. An hour later, Bryce, come home, please. I was stupid, but you stopped me from doing something terrible. I love you. First thing in the morning, good morning, Bryce. I hope you slept better than I did. I wrote you a letter, it will tell you everything. I signed a separation agreement and a retroactive postnuptial agreement. I don't want a divorce, Bryce. I love you. About an hour later, did you really need to involve the kids? We could work things out calmly. An hour later, followed, sorry, Bryce. Mickey told me that she was the one who told you what I was doing and that she also told Daniel and Denise about it. We can work this out, Bryce. I love you. The shock came at noon, Bryce, I resigned. I filed a complaint against Jim Stevens, but I doubt it will work. See you soon. I love you. When I pulled up after work, only Naomi's car was there. I smelled lasagna, my favorite, and the dining table had been cleared to include 2 plates and a burning candle. I put my things in the home office and headed to the kitchen to get something to drink. The only time I saw Naomi in full makeup was on our wedding day. I had free time, so I went to a beauty salon and asked them to give me a makeover. Do you like it? We did a good job with you. Yes, you look great, and I like it. What should I bring you to drink? The signed papers are on the table. Could you wait to read the letter until after you eat? Of course. All this can wait. Dinner went smoothly, tasty but quiet. Then I helped clean up. I moved my things to Denise's old room. You can take over our bedroom. I will not deny you sex anytime you want. Let me know when you want to talk. Naomi disappeared into Denise's room. I retired to my office. The documents were signed and dated. We were separated by law. I can't honestly say this is what I wanted. My emotions were at their limit. Driving happily ever after a tire or 2 has blown out. Is it possible? After downing 3 fingers of whiskey, I opened Naomi's letter. Bryce, I won't go down the beaten path of cliché. I was selfish and prepared to do something I would always regret. It all started when Jim Stevens was hired to fill the vacant office manager position. He is a very persuasive man, and I was drawn into the web by his constant flirting. As you know, few people flirt with me. I absorbed his attention. He suggested that I use lip gloss. I'm embarrassed to admit that he was the one who chose the colors. Soon after this, he suggested that I put on the perfume he bought. The first perfume for me. We went to lunch alone. I was intoxicated by the attention he was giving me. He suggested I wear more revealing outfits, and I bought a few to suit his liking. Now comes the hard part. 2 weeks ago, as we were returning from lunch, he took my hand and placed it in his lap. When we parked, he pulled my head towards him and I kissed him. He groped my chest, but I pulled away before it went any further. That week, I refused to have lunch with him again. Last week, I went to lunch with him twice, and again on Monday, we kissed again. This time, I let him slide his hand under my bra, but things didn't go any further than that. He demanded more from me, but I did not give in. As you probably already know, it was his idea for me to get liposuction. I hope you believe me when I say that's all that happened. I truly love you, but my actions definitely don't prove it. I'm as sorry as anyone can be. When you accused me, I panicked. I thought I was never wrong enough to lie to you. I thought I hid everything from you. My lies to you may have sealed my fate. I can only blame myself. My actions violate the postnuptial agreement, so you are entitled to all property as stated in the document. I will gladly give up everything if I can keep you. If you decide to divorce me, I will not resist. I was stupid, and sometimes stupidity has serious consequences. Now I understand this, although belatedly. You are all my love, Naomi. I sat in the chair for another hour. The only way to fall asleep was to drink. In the morning, the sun seemed too bright. I picked up the phone and saw messages from all 3 children. I made a group response: your mother cheated. I don't know yet whether she wrote the truth in the letter. We are officially separated, but we live under the same roof. I need time to decide where I will go next. Thanks for the support. Without her, it would be quite difficult for me. Love you, Dad. When I finished getting dressed, Naomi was already waiting for me in the kitchen. What is your schedule today? I avoided her. I did mention that Naomi is smart, didn't I? She knew better than to say anything. I ate in silence, then grabbed my briefcase and headed for the door. Let me know if you need anything, Bryce. Yes, one thing comes to mind. Get tested for STDs. It turns out she's not that smart, Bryce. I didn't have sex with him. You lied every step of the way. What makes you think that I should trust you? I won't even think about touching you without checking. Her defeated look and quieter tears were replaced by the words, goodbye. I was checked today. It was a waste of money, but if that's what you want, you'll see results in a few days. I'm sorry I attacked you, as you say. I am going to have dinner. Is Mickey here? No, she's avoiding me too. A few days later, Naomi silently handed me a clean STD report. Today, I had a very good interview. It won't be exactly the same, but I'll be working again. Did you have a plan to pay expenses? I give you money and you pay for everything. I haven't thought it through yet. I'll look through the checkbook and make an estimate. Am I still on your health insurance, or should I get my own? I didn't change anything. No, not really. I changed my life insurance beneficiaries to my children. This brought mist into my eyes and a few drops of tears. Life moved slowly. I still didn't know what I wanted. Naomi was happy with her new job. The children were too busy with their own affairs to worry about our problems. Days turned into weeks. I made quite a few sarcastic remarks whenever possible. Less than 3 months had passed since the beginning of our separate existence when I began to warm up the situation. My office holiday party was approaching. I'm always there, but mainly because I'm part of the senior management. I decided to get a little revenge on Naomi. I arrived home at the usual time and the smell of cookies filled the house. I needed to change clothes and get to a hotel in the city center where celebratory events were taking place. Hi darling, how's work today? As always, I won't stay for dinner. Today we have a corporate party. Oh my God, what is the dress code today? Give me a few minutes and I'll be ready. I'm so sorry, Naomi. I won't take you. I have a date. I need to change clothes. I didn't have a date. I was picking up Mickey so she could dance. I rarely wear cologne, but today I put on some perfume. It's in a hotel in the city center. If I drink too much or anything, I'll just rent a room. Good night, Naomi. I could tell by the look on Naomi's face how hurt she was. Let it be so. Misfortune loves company. It's her turn to deal with emotions she thought she'd never have to deal with. Very few people asked about Naomi. The rumor spread and everyone knew something was wrong. I enjoyed the explicit sexual flirting offered by several single ladies. It would be very easy to spend the night with your desired partner. I was wondering if I should go home today. How much pain has already been caused? Is it enough? Around 1 o'clock in the morning, Mickey got ready to leave. Robin Lowry, a divorced 30-year-old cutie, was drunk. She's in my department but does not report directly to me. Bryce, I rented a room. I could use some help finding my room. I caught Robin before she fell. Mark Franklin, who works for me, grabbed her from the other side. Robin handed the key to Mark. Mark and I walked Robin to the elevators. We were just embarrassed to go into her room when she announced, "Oh God, I feel so bad." We dragged her into the bathroom. Mickey stayed with her. When the gagging sounds died down, Mickey reappeared. I think she will live. A naked Robin appeared from the bathroom. Where's my bed? I won't try to deny it, I was hypnotized. Mickey walked Robin into the bedroom and tucked her in for the night. You guys are just terrible standing there and looking at her. I have no idea what you're talking about, Mickey. What about you, Mark? I didn't see anything, man. We returned to the party and I walked around, everyone saying goodbye. Mickey grabbed her purse and sweater. I asked her to sprinkle perfume on my shirt. She danced with all the men who invited her. She is 18 and already a woman. I was proud of how skillfully she played. More than once, she brushed off inappropriate advances. She saved her slow dancing for the oldest man she could find. I kissed her goodbye on the forehead and sent her home. When I pulled into the driveway, the lights had already gone out. I noticed movement in the window curtains. Naomi didn't greet me. I left my clothes in the bathroom and slept like the dead. My clothes were gone when I staggered into the bathroom this morning. After brushing my teeth, I went to the kitchen. You've returned home. How was the party? Quite typical. Did your lady have a good time? Certainly. I don't think she missed a single slow dance. Did you kiss her? Yes, but there was nothing more. You're okay with this, aren't you? Damn, Bryce. This is killing me. Sorry, last night was the longest night of my life. If you were going to divorce me, do it now. Don't leave me by the nose. I wish the choice was so easy, Naomi. I can't forget the 100 years we spent together. You cheated, maybe you had sex, maybe you didn't, but that doesn't change the fact that you abandoned our marriage vows without permission. But you two last night, so you can, but I can't. Nice double standard, convenient for you, isn't it, Bryce? I want us to end this. I'm afraid you'll find someone you like more than me. This scares me to death. Welcome to my world. Now you have some idea of what's going on in my head. I'm going for a walk. I am going with you. This was the first time I'm walking along 2M loop, which takes me about 45 minutes depending on the speed. This is Naomi's first time. They passed in silence. That was nice, Naomi. I am going to take a shower. Can I join? Honestly, I think Naomi was checking for hickeys. I can't remember the last time she kissed every inch of my body. I have no idea how she found out, but I had to suspect she would. It only took a few days. You're very proud of yourself, aren't you? You took Mickey to your party. You said you did all the slow dancing with her. No, I said that she danced all the slow dances. You heard what you wanted to hear. Whose perfume was on your shirt? I asked Mickey, so you didn't sleep with other women that night? Why should I confess? Naomi's eyes became wet. Not knowing hurts, doesn't it, Naomi? Tell me when you can get this thought out of your head. Next week or in 10 years. To my surprise, she smiled and pulled me into the bedroom. Naomi received nothing from her previous employer, although Jim Stevens was sent packing a few months later. Although her new job was somewhat different, after 6 months, she was promoted to shift supervisor. She doesn't wear makeup or perfume and only wears sexier outfits when we go out together. She made me accompany her to her annual checkup. Naomi wanted me to know that this was her doctor's advice to lose weight. This was smart of her, as I would have been suspicious if she had just started dieting and exercising. She's spending a lot of money on clothes again, but this time because she's losing extra pounds. All 3 children took turns avoiding Naomi. We are a family again. Dear viewers, thank you for staying with us and supporting our channel. See you again.